Hello, everybody. Welcome to another session of the Heal and Shift podcast. And today I am delighted to introduce to you Anu Paavola. You might think that's an Indian name. Actually, this lady is Finnish. We're going to hear a lot more about that and her backstory. And Anu is the founder of the Jivita Academy of Ayurveda, where they run courses in Ayurvedic massage and nutrition, and also a beautiful clinic and spa in London. She's a qualified Ayurvedic practitioner of 14 years, one of the first actually to qualify in the UK. Her training was in the UK and also India. And we actually met through the Ayurvedic community. I've known of Anu's work for many, many years. So welcome, Anu. And it's a very interesting story, yours, because I actually had no idea you were Finnish. So please tell us a bit about your childhood backstory.
Well, thanks, Sunita. Thanks for the invitation. And yes, my story goes a bit back and forth in Europe throughout my years before establishing in London. But it started in northern Finland, almost in Lapland area, a very cold place. And at least 8 years of age, we moved to Helsinki, but we didn't move into the city of Helsinki, but there's a really kind of exotic island offshore Helsinki called Suomenlinna, which is a fortress. So this island has no cars, no traffic, and has these bastions scattered here and there. And it was built to defend Helsinki from the Russians. But in the end, the battle never happened. They surrendered immediately, and the fortress was left like that. So it was an amazing playground for us. The winters were very cold at that time, so the sea would freeze over, and we, had summer and winter amazing fun there. But it was always also quite a scary place as a child, because the houses were very old as well, made of wood, and ours was very creaky as well. So the storms and the weather changes, temperature would make the wood crack and rickle. And my room was in a small place, on the other side of the house, and my parents were. So it was quite a frightening place at the same time. I remember going to piano classes on my bike through these bastions and tunnels of, like an old castle. I had beautiful joy and fun during the day, and then at night I was really scared all the time. Okay. So what my point is, why I'm telling you this, is because I had to calm myself down at nights. I was engaging kind of unconsciously these yogic practices. I had no idea what yoga was at that time. Yeah. But I was repeating this short prayer by my grandmother. She had taught me that, and I went on at least 100 times every evening. I had to recite that little prayer. And I also remember once I was trying to focus not to think what was under my bed, and I was trying to focus, and I went into this really unknown space, the kind of the presence, once you have full focus. And I had this very kind of spiritual experience, which has stayed with me since then, and I always wanted to go back to that.
Wow.
So I think that was kind of most important moment in my childhood that I can remember most vividly, and it has something to do with what I do presently in my work as well.
Yeah, and you, there's some unexpected turns there, yeah. And I'm sure, you can look back now and think, well, that was an inspiration. What actually inspired you to pursue a career in Ayurveda?
It was just one of those things that suddenly I found myself in it. I was studying languages. First, I was in Italy, in Naples, and then in Helsinki University. And then, I started doing yoga because I was inspired by my dad, who went through, I guess, some sort of midlife crisis. And he was introduced to the 5 Tibetan movements, and he still does it methodically every morning. But we saw a change in him, so suddenly he changed his posture and he changed his mood. He's a big grumpy guy, but suddenly he wasn't a grumpy guy anymore. And I said, look, I am in a bad place. I want what you have. And he passed me the book, and I had this moment of insights, and I understood so much. The message just came from the right channel. He's always been a big authority for me.
Yeah. Well, we have something in common there, because also my father was very much an inspiration. When we were kids, when we were having cereal, they would blanch almonds, and we'd place almonds on our cereal, and certain nutritional aspects that we know now that we study in Ayurveda were kind of core of our diet. So they stay.
Yeah, exactly. And since then I took on yoga, which then my teacher then advised us to start reading about Ayurveda, and it just locked in like that. It made sense, although it was a bit esoteric. I thought the doshas were and energies and talking about 5 elements didn't make any sense to me, but intuitively it did, and I kept on having it as a hobby, and then took a couple of practices, and they just had such a big, deep influence on me, and deep kind of great changes happened, within a short period of time, with small little acts in daily life that I had changed. So I kept with it, and then eventually found a degree course in London, and that was it.
And was there anyone, because again, when you were studying, one of the first batches, really, it really wasn't in the mainstream at all. So there was this university course running, a number of students were on it. This is a big commitment, 4-year commitment, plus you've got your training in India, your clinical studies. So was there anyone along the way that gave you encouragement at that time?
Well, I don't think I could kind of put one person, except my best friend Sari at that time. She was very excited for me, but at the same time, wary of the fact that I was about to graduate in Helsinki University, and then I just left everything for this program that was quite out there, especially for my parents, who are scientists, and they were just, you're absolutely nuts. And I sold my house and left for London and started studying Ayurveda. But I was totally convinced. So it was just, something that was deep within me that was feeling it was the right thing to do. And I had this urge to follow that through. And even though studies, were difficult as well, I especially second year, I struggled. I thought, I'm going to stop. This doesn't make any sense. But I persisted and kept on. And then suddenly on the 3rd year, I was like, oh my God, this makes so much sense. Kind of the insight happened there.
So, I mean, that's a process, that, and there's a commitment and there's a faith that comes with sticking to something that, that you really believe in. So what do you think, Anu, can you share your favorite life lesson? What's come through?
Yes, I mean, I think the most powerful thing is to change from knowing things, analyzing things, is to feeling them, feeling my body, feeling the environment, and understand it, and trust that it's a legitimate way to extract information from around me, from my nature, and then guide my behavior accordingly. I mean, analyzing nature is a great way to get information, but the feelings, they're not so scientific, they think. Instead you can have lots of insight and understanding and knowledge about yourself and your environment, just by guiding yourself through the way you feel and the way your environment feel, the way your social lives feel, how your food feels, how your activities feel. And then, in Ayurveda, as you know well, we use the law of opposites, which is so, easy to apply in every moment. And I always say that, you just kind of have to put the Ayurvedic goggles on. And instead of kind of looking at nutritional content, for example, in terms of food, you just look, how does my food feel like? And then how do I feel like? And is there a match between these feelings? So like you would say, if you feel cold, you've been out for a walk, you go to a cafe, do I feel like a cold icy drink, or do I crave a nice cup of hot tea? These are, the Ayurvedic ways that we balance each other. And so I had studied Ayurveda quite methodically in a Western way, pike is a fish, like we say in Finnish. But, in the end, someone would have asked me, what is a pike? I might say, I don't know, I can't remember. But the way is, it was just really in a way that I didn't get it at first, that I had to try to go through that completely different observational angle, not knowing those things, but feeling them. And then obviously, those lists of, about herbs and foods, they were important to know.
Yeah.
But in the end, you don't really necessarily have to know nutritional contents of a food to understand its value.
Some people might say, I mean, those living in urban cities like London, Manchester, New York, so, some of these, intense urban cities, where it's very crowded as well. There's a lot of noise as well coming from all directions. Is there, compared to somebody living out in the country who's connected to nature, they look out their window, they see the grass, they see the flowers bloom, they see the seasons. It can be richly rewarding.
Yeah.
How would you advise somebody maybe who's living in an urban environment to really connect in the way that you are sharing, you're talking about?
Yeah, well, if you look at the principle of opposites of urban life, you would see that there's lots of complexity around. There is loads of stuff, so in order to find balance in an urban environment, it's really recommended to simplify everything. And I really like when I have complex cases with my clients, I really like that, because I know it's quite easy to heal them, because all we need to do is simplify. To cut the redundant things out of your life, and put the house, minimalize things, minimize, and so walk on the street with the earphones on, and cut the noise, cut too much light off, and just kind of come to the spa and enjoy a massage in a place that feels safe and comfortable, to balance that urban,
Yeah, love it. No, absolutely. And that's a lot of what I teach as well, that there's a space beyond the senses.
Yeah.
We can protect, we can be boundary, we can protect. There's plenty of things that we can do. And it's our choice at the end of the day, how we want to experience life. But definitely, if you free yourself of that noise, you absolutely connect much better to your food, to the senses, to what you're feeling in the body. All of these things become much more natural and much more in flow. And really, this leads us to the big news. Lockdown has provided you with this wonderful opportunity to write your first book.
Oh, yes, yes. Thanks for bringing it up.
Ayurveda Detox, and I've read it, loved every page. Now my father is reading it, so it's going to be shared, go through many hands. So tell us, what led you to writing your book?
Well, I had a thing about an idea that was there for many years, and I did try, let's say 6-7 years ago, but it just became a boring manual and had to stay in that desk drawer. It just wasn't interesting at all, until then one day an editor walked into my shop and said, would you like to write a book about Ayurveda? And they had in mind a specific topic, because the market is quite saturated already with just kind of general information about Ayurveda, and that's great, but I just didn't want to produce another one. So and when they said they wanted to focus on detoxing, then obviously I had to kind of think about how I'm going to approach detoxing, because lots of people understand that Ayurvedic detoxing as being this big 10 days to 30 days panchakarma treatments, which are quite difficult for people to carry through in an urban environment. So I decided to focus on what I know best, which is the diet and lifestyle advice, because that's what the, kind of main bulk of my clients come for me. What should I eat? What should I do? And within that process, what comes in has to come out. Obviously, I've developed expertise also in what has to come out and how to make it come out. And for some, quirky reason, the writing just happened to fall into those 3 lockdown moments. So the first I wrote it, the second we edited, and third we illustrated it. And it was perfect because, running the spa was kind of halted at that time, and I could dedicate time for writing. So it was a really interesting process. And the thank God, finally the result is in paper, and we're happy about it.
It's a beautiful book, and I think, and also, like you say, the illustrations and the colors, and it's very much, anyone could pick this book up. I found it, the content very easy to follow. And I like, how you talk about, really life is meant to be full, vibrant, richly rewarding, and really go into how our body can feel from that sense of detox. So who would you like to reach with this book?
Who would I would like to? Sorry.
Who would you like to reach? Who should be reading it?
Well, it is for beginners and advanced anyone. It can be something that you pick up and just kind of open and read about specific topics. So, but really, health. People like health warriors. I think this is a very important book for them, because there tends to be a tendency of exaggerating with health and well-being, to try to be 100% always on dots, and feel guilty about, not being 100% every day doing the right thing. And so I try to also bring the aspect into it, as you said, that life has to be enjoyed. We have a golden path, but sometimes we need to deviate from the golden path. And when we do, most of the days follow the right thing, most of the times eat and do the right things, then we have room to allow ourselves these diversions, because then we have resilience, we have the bounce back ability into that golden path again. And occasional, stresses are just, the salt of life. They give, sometimes I said, you shouldn't, most of the times, obviously, you shouldn't eat in the evenings. But if your mates ask you to go out and eat late and have a glass of wine, do it, and do it with gusto, because you wouldn't be so healthy if you stayed home and all stressed and upset because all your friends are out and having fun and you're here with your 100% Ayurvedic diet. That wouldn't be life. In fact, that would be more stressful, and you might go indigestion with your perfect food.
Yeah, so purism definitely isn't the message at all. No. That's flexibility, but here are really some of the tools and the techniques that you can practice.
Absolutely, yes, yeah. So enjoy life, and if you do the wrong thing,
don't be hard on yourself.
Yeah, there's always a way to come back.
Yeah,
and this is really something I find beautiful about nature, and kind of Ayurveda is nature. It's the nature's diet, and it's a nature's program for us, and it will never abandon us, no matter how we digress or take it wrong. You can always come back. So Mother Nature is always ready to take you back, and it just doesn't take too long to get back either, because the body's so keen on being in a natural state. So once you just take the first steps, and it starts flowing.
Yeah, well, I think it's a great book in the sense that it's really it's like a library. There's a lot of very good content there that I think can empower individuals in every aspect of their life, because you're talking very practically, but also you do go into some of the deeper mysteries as well, and touch on all of that as well. So really, that really brings me to, do you have any specific practice that you swear by?
Well, my morning practice, I wake up early and create the foundation for my day with asana, pranayama, and meditation, mainly focusing on the pranayama and meditation. because my days are intense. The rhythm is intense, and I have to be able to look at things that I have things to resolve rather than problems, and that kind of does it. And so my mind is focused, my body is strong, and I do physical labor as well. So I had to take care of myself in that way. So I wouldn't be able to do this without it.
What do you recommend, say somebody new coming to a morning practice? How would you recommend they start?
Well, first of all, wake up early enough, not too early, but it's around 5:36 is a great time. Feels quite early, but okay, if you start, then maybe 6:37 I'll allow. So wake up early, glass of hot water, take your herbs, maybe some lemon, and then just do half an hour of self practice. Any exercise has to be the type that you like. If you don't like yoga, don't do yoga. Go for a walk. Do whatever it is that rocks your boat. Just put the blood running. Yeah, that's really important. Yeah. And then maybe pranayama and meditation, if you feel comfortable with them. I think Brahmari pranayama is just wonderful. It just works on so many levels, and it's just the humming things. Close your ears and eyes and hum. Keep on humming as long as your lungs keep going, and do 20 repetitions. That changes the way your day runs. It's just wonderful and so simple.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And that's anyone can set their day up like that. Yeah, no excuses. And I think healthy food, nutrition, that is your thing, and I know that to be your thing as well from the years I know about you and your work. And what are your particular thoughts on healthy eating?
Well, it's very easy. Just remember the 3 S's: simple, slow, and seasonal. There's no need to complicate your life with long food lists and eating for your body type. Yes, so if you follow these kind of 3 S's rule, simplify. Don't put 3-4 salads from a salad bar together, and they might look on the paper healthy, but it's a digestive nightmare. So 1 or 2 items, let's say rice and curry. That's 2 items, but like 1 pot foods are fantastic. And then seasonal is really the Ayurvedic way of eating. Yeah. So if you go into understanding what people ate before urbanization, so when we were nomadic, there was no other way of eating: seasonal, organic, and local. Yeah, that's what it is. And Ayurveda is the knowledge of Ayurveda copies the cycles of nature, and seasonal food gives you the exact nutrients that you need at that specific time. So those are the seasonal foods are your superfoods. If you eat seasonal, you're eating superfoods all the time. So you don't have to resort to getting goji berries from Andes whilst it's provided by the seasonality.
So we're still in winter. So what are 3 ingredients you'd recommend now, easy to cook with?
Well, root vegetables and fat.
Okay.
Fat is really important in winter, and salt as well. So we need to just obviously understand we need, healthy salts, not table salt. So and healthy fats. So processed fats, any fats coming from a clear plastic bottle are rancid by default. So, we have obviously our love of our lives, the ghee, and butter, and coconut oil, and olive oil, and so on. So, as you don't be shy on adding fat into your food. It gives more flavor, and it really feels comforting. We need comfort in winter. We need that kind of nerve protective factors in our diet, which are butter and kind of fat and salt. And then things that are heavy. And how do you know what is heavy? You just put it on water, it sinks. That's heavy.
I bought myself. I'm doing. I've taken have a personal trainer once a week. That's my new thing.
I've seen you.
Yeah, because I was too much in the holistic, I was doing, so much yoga, so much meditation. I realized actually I need a balance, it's a balance of the two. And I decided to work with a PT because of the motivation and getting some structure in place. But because of that, also I have new scales, Anu. So that's another thing, just to add to what you said. I think it's good to have some good scales, if you need to weigh anything.
Fair enough. Yes. But again, about that knowing and feeling, if you have a feeling that you are fine with your body, then you should be okay. If there's a feeling I feel a bit too heavy, then yes, lighten up and do exercise. But I've kind of taken the scales away from because they condition me too much, because possibly unlike you, I've had eating disorders in my past. So that kind of always, when stress hits, I start, loathing my own body and these kind of things. So I've taken those and I trust that feeling. When I feel good in my body, or when I don't, then I do something about it.
Beautiful. I love, and that's a great takeaway. That's a really good takeaway. So 3 good habits. Can you share 3 good habits that our audience can to add to that they can take away today? What would you recommend?
Okay, first is let's say what I practice myself also daily basis, because I am of the type Pitta type, and I tend to do things intensively and fast. And that is a very common thing in urban environment, let's say, but just slow down. Take a notch down, do things a little bit, and you notice that kind of mindfulness sets in immediately. You just have to remind yourself to remember that. And so that is kind of also something that connects with someone called Dandapani, who's one of my favorite spiritual leaders that I listen to his advice. And he said that when you bring mindfulness during the day, that will help your meditation practice. And there's this kind of misconception that meditation helps your daily activities and focus and concentration, whilst it's actually the other way around. So the amount of distraction you create during the day reflects in your yoga and mindfulness. So and in the meditation. So the more you get into here and there, and oh my gosh, it's very unlikely that you can focus in the meditation. But if you bring that slowness in your daily life, you can bring the mindfulness immediately in, and then when you meditate, then you have a powerful session. And it gives something to you. But if you sit in meditation and it's like constant, stream of thoughts, you can quiet that down, like yogically you would aim to do. You can quieten it down just with a simple act. Just do it a little bit slowly. And then paradoxically, you could be a little bit more efficient as well, because you just stop faffing around.
Yeah. And it's very easy to put pressure on yourself with these things, and if you come to meditation and you can't sit still and it's new to you, I absolutely agree. It's absolutely okay. These are things that you can work up towards as well, and before you know it, exactly, if you're quieting the mind, quietening the body, you're going to have a much more deeper practice.
Yes, absolutely.
And gain those benefits.
Yeah, and the second would be just small intermittent fasting. I could not recommend it more, and especially evening fasting, because it just lets the body then go through during the night, through the whole healing, health, growth, and restoration process without, and then in the morning you wake up not hungry, first of all. Again, paradoxically, if you don't eat the evening, in the morning you're not hungry. But it's one of those things that's very simple. It's cheapest and easiest and fastest way to heal.
Wonderful. Well, they're all things that you can easily take away. It's lots of valuable content here, never mind in the book, things that people can take away immediately. So Anu, if you were inspiring a movement with your work and your book, I always have to ask, what would it be?
Avoid evening eating.
Yes. Avoid eating. I love that.
I think it's like we should create a movement, march on the streets, against late dinner nights.
Brilliant.
But yeah, occasionally, obviously, they are fine. But just if I could ask God one thing, what would it be? Just stop people eating, because it's just really the most detrimental thing that we're doing to our health. It just stops, as I mentioned, that evening fasting. It just stops the healing, the regeneration and detoxification and weight management. Just kind of stops or slows down at least significantly if you eat in the evening. And then you wake up groggy, you don't have emotional stability, and you start feeling hungry all the time. The cravings and weight doesn't come off even if you do something about it. You're not eating for the whole day, and then you eat in the evening. So that, there's so many benefits out of it coming on, especially also if you think old age, degenerative conditions. They can be very powerfully, not saying 100% avoided, but it's a very high chance that you avoid them, and you have that kind of life where you have a long life without disease and then die without pain. And that would be kind of the intention what we have with this Ayurvedic living, and that evening eating will kind of get you to a different place in which you want to avoid.
No, brilliant. That's really good. I think that just awakens more people actually to thinking, let me, once I come in from work, actually I can have my meal then. I don't need to wait 2 hours and eat too late. It makes a huge difference. And then also you have a longer time between that and your breakfast. Which, obviously helps your digestion so much better. So how can we get hold of your book?
Well, it's online in Amazon, Waterstones, and bookshop.org. Yes. And obviously in my shop, we sell it there as well.
Great. And we'll put a link. We'll put a link to the book as well with the interview, so people can just click straight on it. So thank you, Anu. Thank you for your time and your wisdom and your inspiration. And delighted to spend a bit of time with you, and
likewise.
Good luck with everything.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. It was really lovely.